Hey there, you aggressive frame individual. Welcome back to Erico Blueberry. It's an unassuming Destiny podcast. My name is chillybin.
Meckii.
I don't know why I put the emphasis on my own name that way, but we're here. We're past that. That's going to be rattling around in my own head that I said it that way. Hello. We're here. We've made it. We've gone 2 weeks in a row. Look at us go. Almost like serious podcast creators or something. I don't know. And with PAX fast approaching, I think we've got to get all of them in that we can before we go and take at least a week off to deal with that. But yeah. What's happening?
Not much.
I played some Destiny.
Existing and playing Destiny.
Yeah. I will say, not quite Destiny talk, but I did finish Baldur's Gate 3.
My blinds were annoying me. I am wearing pants.
Yeah, usually you give me some kind of heads up before you go and stand up out of frame. But that's fine. Anyway, yes, I've finished Baldur's Gate 3 on my first playthrough.
Disgusting.
I think it ended up being 80 hours, which is large, but now my gaming time has freed up somewhat. Just in time for Season of the Witch stuff to get just a little bit more interesting this week. So we'll get into that because I don't know, there was some juicy little bits in the voice lines in the lore this week, referring to Asa as a proto-worm, which I thought was interesting because we kind of touched on that, I feel like, last time, not sure where Asa lands between like Leviathan and Worm and the Hive mythology. Proto-worm is still a gross name for anything.
It's not great. Not great. Proto-worm.
Yes.
Pre-worm.
Yeah, but it sort of started with Ikora relaying information from talking to her hidden. And saying that her reports on Eris's connection with Asa did not land well, and Ikora then saying, I don't much care for it either. So yeah, it's all getting a bit dramatic, I think.
Yeah. I like the way that they're sprinkling this lore through, kind of. Like they're drip feeding us in a very well-paced way. It's not like Lightfall where it kind of felt a little bit funny. Obviously, it's going to feel different because it's an expansion. But this definitely is a very organic way, and I find it really enticing. Like the little bits that they're giving us are like, ooh.
Yeah,
may I have some more?
They've been doing that pretty well with the last few seasons, but this one especially, It feels like the cadence to the way information is being rolled out is a lot smoother. Last week was a bit light. Kind of did your 2 quest steps, you got some information, and then it was like, great, go back and just do stuff. But this week it's like, one of the quest steps was like do 5 challenges in the Altars of Summoning. Which doing 5 of them, I had to do 2 full runs to kind of finish that because I loaded in halfway to one, so I only got a couple out of that. So it felt like it just required more work this week. And if every week's like that, it's a drag, but it wasn't too bad considering how last week was.
Yeah. Well, see, I like the altars. They're a really good brain off way to kind of farm reputation at the table.
Yeah.
Which I've completed another triumph towards the title.
Yeah, we do. I mean, we'll get to it, but that final secret triumph has been revealed because, we go through the quest steps and then it unlocks a new activity, new seasonal activity known as the Imbaru Engine, which sounds like someone saying, it sounds like someone saying Immaru but they've like bitten their tongue or something.
They've got a cold.
Yeah.
Imbaru.
It's Daddy Immaru here, just like stumbling over it just enough. But yeah, it was, I mean, they basically say like it's designed to be confusing, because it kind of reminded me of in the prophecy dungeon. There's that one cube shaped room you go into where like what you're standing on eventually becomes like the walls of a next rotation of this cube that you're inside of. But they've done it so well to there was a couple of points where I was like jumping around trying to do stuff, and I got up against a wall and thought I was looking down and completely got myself fucking turned around. But yeah, Imbaru, one of the lines that I screenshot the subtitle of was basically saying it's Savathun's reinterpretation of her brother's logic. Still not quite sure what that means, but the Imbaru Engine is this thing that we're going inside of, which is apparently at the top of the spire, and we're not supposed to know it exists, and Immaru is fucking pissed about it.
It's above the oubliette.
Yeah,
so I don't know if it's necessarily above. I think it like might be between
engine spire.
Yeah, maybe potential. We don't know.
It's all
but
lies.
It was another one of those things where it was hidden the whole time.
Yes.
But Imbaru is apparently a Sumerian word for mist.
Okay. We pissing in here now? What are we doing?
Mist.
I
wish it was the piss. I wish it was the piss engine.
Maybe I heard what I wanted to hear.
I wish it was the piss engine. Shout out to Piss Fiend, who did all 5 of my altars with me.
Sorry, Piss Fiend TM? It's a trademarked name. Shout
out to you for doing all of those altars of summoning with me.
So good. Yes. But yeah, you basically just load in, you walk for it, you like do all the, activate the portal that does the hive magic thing, except when you go to activate it, the prompt that you get is the word unveil, which was a little unsettling for me because everything up to then has been like invoke hive magic, and this one's like, no, we're going to use this word that we've used before in certain contexts. So that might be, I don't know, foreshadowing some stuff. Who knows?
Have you done the first activity yet?
Yeah. So, well,
have you gone back in?
No. So what happened to me was I loaded into it the first time when you're kind of guided there through the weekly quest. And there were like voice lines that were clearly triggered from it being my first time loading in as I was going up. This happened to be at a time where they were having some networking troubles, and I got booted to orbit a couple times. And so what that means is I loaded back in and those voice lines didn't trigger again. So then I had to go look up a video to see if I'd missed anything. Turns out I hadn't, but there was no way of me to know that. But yeah, so I've done it once through. I haven't gone back in yet, but I was planning to this week just to see, because like the triumph to get the seal is basically me doing it once through is now one of 2. I don't know if that means I need to wait for a different version of it next week or something like that. But it was so short, I was already thinking of like, I'm going to go back in and just like see if it changes. Because essentially you load in, there's like 2 chests, and there's like a different hive symbol next to each one. My understanding is, I don't know how you figure this out the first time, but you have to work out which symbol is the correct one, and then open the chest that the symbol is pointing at it, and then there will spawn like more chests, and you've got to like track down the symbols that match, and like basically just open a bunch of chests. But if you get the wrong one, you die, but there's no other consequence. You just respawn and try again with the other one.
Yeah.
But I don't know how you were supposed to figure out what the first one is that you pick. I have a theory, but that's part of what I wanted to check when I go back in.
Yeah, I kind of brute forced it too.
Because there's one point, so one of the, like the first time I was in there, one of the symbols, which was the wrong answer, was the one that looks kind of like a jellyfish. And there's one point where I could turn around and the hedges that were positioned up on one of the walls, the negative space around those formed that symbol. So I don't know if that was trying to tell me, don't do that one, do the other one. Or if there's something there, or if that's just a red herring, or if it is just literally guess the first one and then match it from that. I don't know.
I struggled with that too. I was just like, I'm just going to keep doing this.
Yeah. Because some of them are like, there'll be what would be a platform, except it's on the wall. And the chest will be mounted on the front of it. And then the symbol that you have to check is on the back side of that platform. So there's like a lot of weird maneuvering you have to do just to work out, like, is this the right one to open or not? And that part was kind of fun because like I often do that kind of platforming just naturally in the game of like, I think I can jump on that and get over there. It's clearly not the designed path, but it'll work. And it felt like that's how I should be doing it in this case, because I'm like jumping on the side of a hedge and then up on this like pointy spike that's sticking out of the wall. None of it makes sense. But
I got turned around a few times too.
Yeah.
Just jumped into tabs that I had open from doing it yesterday. Thank you, Opera, for letting me do that. Someone in the Reddit posted a piece of lore that kind of makes the Imbaru engine make sense. Okay. And it's lore in game. So I don't think it's a spoiler.
No, if it's in the game, like, is it a lore book or a gun or what?
Yeah, it looks like it's a lore entry.
Do you have in front of you which book it's from?
No. Reddit.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Yeah, the only reason I ask is because like the name the Imbaru Engine in the past few weeks, as I found out only today, had been like discovered through data mining, and like if the lore has been discovered the same way, I kind of don't want to touch it because it's not information that they expect us to have. But if it's like a lore entry that's been in the game for months or years, then who gives a shit?
It looks like it's from potentially 2018.
Oh. Okay. Do you have it there? Do you want to just read it? Because I don't think I've read it, or because I didn't know what the Imbaru Engine was. I never heard of this thing.
So the thing that kind of, it's from the book Truth to Power.
Oh yeah, that's an old that's
old.
That's old cool. Head lore.
So the Imbaru Engine is basically a system. So this is someone breaking it down, but also using excerpts.
Yeah.
Obviously being a Hive entry, it's not to be trusted, but and a Savathun entry. It's basically a system in which Savathun grows stronger through people failing to understand her. I'm going to move from
reinterpretation of the sword logic. That kind of makes sense. Like people losing to Savathun as you would in combat is not understanding her. Yeah. Okay. Because
she doesn't use violence. She uses cunning and deception. That's her. Yeah. She's not war. She's not death. Like the rest of them, she's deception.
Yeah.
And this is where it makes extra sense. I'm going to move from an existential economy based on the accumulation of violence to an existential economy based on the accumulation of secrets and the tribute of failing to understand. I shall name this tribute of failing to understand Imbaru, for it shall be as formless as the mist.
Huh.
In the beginning, Yul said to me, Savathun, you may never abandon cunning. If you do, your worm shall devour you. Cunning is the use of thought to predict the function of a system. Therefore, wherever a being should attempt to understand me and fail, has my cunning not defeated theirs? Wherever a falsehood is repeated about me, have I not displayed cunning? I shall gather tribute from every false prediction, misguided theory, and fearful rumor, an ominous superstition which derives from the thought of me, and in time I shall pin my quiddity upon these rumors. I shall discorporate so that I exist wherever my schemes and conspiracies also exist. and so I will be immortal as long as anyone seeks to understand me and fails. Do you not see? We live in a society.
Fuck. That hits so hard.
It's funny how an
That
entire
is like
law entry is
everything that is happening right now.
An entire law entry was recontextualized, what, 5 years later?
Yeah, legitimately. You crafty motherfuckers.
If this is from a book in 2018.
That is some like if that was planned that long ago, like in some, I don't know, law Bible about Savathun and how she functions, like it's such a long shot. That's very good.
So if anyone's interested, it's from the book Truth to Power, and it is verse 154I4, Call the Thrall, is where it starts.
Damn.
And it's Savathun talking to a thrall. The thrall's just like, you're talking too fast.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't understand you. Head explodes. Psychic damage. Damn.
That's how cursed thralls are made.
Damn.
Fuck. Call me coyote, call me mantis, serpent, Kagan, and Nancy. Call me Shri cleanse his brother's stomach. Call me the grand master of semiosis, the jeweler's hammer which gilds the signal. A purposeful mob, none of whose members know its purpose. This is a good book. I'm going to go back and read this whole thing.
Is that a Tinder bio? Just like names to call me by?
There's a Lorna Shore lyrics.
It'd be a weird game. Lorna Shore lyrics or Tinder bio. I think that's funny to like us, and that'd be it.
Lorna Shore lyrics or Destiny monologue.
Okay, yeah, I can see that.
Interesting. That's a very interesting book. I think I'm going to read this book before bed.
That's a weird choice.
Dope as shit.
Yeah, the Hive are so a thought I've just had, like the reason I enjoy reading stuff about the Hive so much is it hits that part of my brain that is fascinated by stories about serial killers, of like a twisted worldview that you can still kind of wrap your head around. Like the sword logic makes some amount of sense, even though I would never live a life that way. It's like, I can see how you put these pieces together.
Book Truth to Power.
Yeah, damn. I just... Now the question I have, because Immaru is so close to Imbaru, which one came first? And are the names being that similar just a coincidence? What are we doing here?
I feel like back when Witch Queen came out, we Googled his name.
Out here name searching.
Gotta know the meaning of my future children's name.
Yeah.
Oh, once again, a Sumerian word for light. I think we went over that.
Okay. Sure. I mean, yeah.
A lot of Sumerian language callbacks.
Man.
Hey, yo, someone at Destiny a Loathe fan? Because there's a chapter here called Is It Really You?
That could be anything.
Interesting. Yeah, that's interesting. So we know what the Imbaru engine is now.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Hang on. An engine to, with that in mind, an engine to generate Imbaru. So, like, the way that this thing works, it generates that misunderstanding of Savathun.
She is depending on us to fuck up these trials.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
when you pick the wrong box, it says something about you feed Savathun's Imbaru, or like there's some pop-up that says something to that effect.
And she laughs.
Yeah.
So she has preemptively set up this engine with the intent for us to fail so that we can feed her back to strength.
Or I mean, in that book that excerpt that you just read, she's talking about being formless and immortal because of this, because of us going and doing that. She lives on because we are still trying to understand her and failing. I don't like, do we even need to resurrect her? Does she need that?
While still empowering her.
Yeah. I wonder.
She's one of my favorite villains of all time across like all media. Like she's just so well written. Yeah, she's so good.
The question I now have in my mind that I need to get back into the game and test, when you go in to do the Imbaru Engine, to do a test, is the game designed that the first box you pick is always wrong? Is it literally coded that way so that you are always doing it wrong? Because the other question I had is like, if you get it right the whole way through, does something else happen? Because then you've given her nothing.
Interesting.
Yes. I need to go and test the test now.
I need to go see if Mylin has clued on and figured this out too.
Yeah, he's like, for this kind of shit, he's one of the people I go to first if I'm watching anyone try to break it down, because like he'll do what that person on Reddit did, but to a better extent and a better depth of like,
he makes it digestible as well.
Yeah, and also he kind of just pulls that shit off the top of his head and he's like, remember this, and goes and draws it up.
Well, he was one of the earliest content creators I saw that made the connection between what's happening in the dark timeline, where Eris is the big bad. She's corrupted by the darkness and stasis in that timeline. Yeah, she was
specifically corrupted by stasis because that came up in this week's story stuff.
Yeah, but he was talking about that weeks ago when Eris first started becoming a hive. And Elsie became involved, and there started to be mentions of Elsie.
Yeah,
he was one of the first people I saw that went, this is starting to run a little bit parallel with something else we know about.
Mm-hmm.
Damn, Imbaru Engine. Fuck, Savathun's so well written. Yeah. God damn it, Bungie.
Yeah, and this, like, I feel like at some point someone's going to accuse me of being a Lightfall apologist, but what they're doing now with Savathun is this long tail storytelling that was, I think, just the way they did storytelling in Lightfall. You know, like we're getting stuff now in Season of the Witch that kind of back explains stuff that was happening in Lightfall, that they were like beginning a story thread and not giving any kind of closure or milestone. It was just like, here's a thing, here's an idea, think about it, end of campaign. And like, I get there's ways they could have like wrapped up the campaign a little better with some of that stuff, but this style of storytelling of like setting a thing up, maybe not paying it off for like a year or two at minimum, that's just what they do. Like, I think the difference with Lightfall was it was so much more obvious because the campaign didn't have the nice bow at the end of it that the Witch Queen one did. Just depends what you're going into it for, right? Like if you're going in for the story of the Cloud Striders, like it had a bunch of that.
It didn't have that emotional capstone that Witch Queen did.
It felt like with the story arc of the Cloud Striders in Lightfall, there was almost a bit missing to like really make it resonate, but it still had the sort of general shape of a story arc to it. Just like didn't hit as hard because we didn't have enough time to develop the connection and all that. But this kind of shit is so good. Of like, hey, remember this thing from fucking 5 years ago? No, someone does, and they're going to tell you about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting with Savathun, and I think we spoke about this too. It's we ganked her just as we started to feel for her. You know what I mean? We started to be like, wait, she's a victim of that deception herself.
And that fucking cutscene and the whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah, like she is a victim of deception herself. Like, but also the Traveler chose her. So shit. Like, and then it's like, well, we got to gank her.
Yeah. But then every time, because it's Savathun, I'm like, is that something she's just showing us? And it's not actually the truth. Like, I still never know what to believe.
And then a year down the track, it's like, so we didn't need to kill her. Shit. But then also you're like, well, fuck, now we got to get her back. And then Immaru is like, oh, she planned to die the whole time. Don't worry.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah, this is literally, this is the point.
Who? I don't know what to believe anymore.
Yeah.
Which is what she wants.
Yeah. This is basically her ascension is dying and then us continuing to try to figure shit out. And she's getting stronger as a result. Just, incredible.
Yeah.
Man. Other things that happened this week that I did not touch because it was happening at the weekend and I was a busy boy. Weapon crafting kind of went fucking mental.
Weapon crafting got fuck-eyed.
So I didn't play the game while this was happening. I didn't read anything about like how it happened. I don't even think they've said. The impression that I got, and you can tell me if I've got this right, because I think you were actually doing stuff in the game this weekend. People discovered ways of like, I don't know, tricking the game or breaking it. When you go to craft a weapon, you could put frames or perks into weapon types that should not have them, such as, I think someone told me they created a shotgun that was firing like a linear fusion rifle. So it was shooting like 9 beams of like 70k damage, or like an assault rifle that is again firing like a shotgun. Just mental things, and people taking it to PvP, and Bungie came out and basically said like, we could roll this back, but we're not going to. We're just going to try and like fix it, but just let it rip for this week.
Alex from our clan told us the other day he turned a sniper into a shotgun.
Yeah, which just like, yeah. So did you see any of this yourself? Because all I've seen is like a couple of clips here and there.
Look, all I know is there was a couple of altars of summoning that got cleared a little bit too quickly, and a few bosses that got just absolutely fucked on. I loaded into one game of Crucible and played it through and went, nah, fuck this, I'm out. Yeah. Like, it was unplayable.
People doing that
but
shit
a lot
in
of fun.
Trials. Like, Trials is already bad.
Seeing some of the shit people were doing, I was laughing the whole game. Like, I was having a great time. Like, I know some people are really salty about it, but like, what's a couple of weeks of the game being fun? Like, just silly.
It's like I wasn't around. I wasn't like, I think it was like during a time when I wasn't playing Destiny when laser tag weekend happened, where Prometheus lands was just insanely broken, and people were taking it into PvP and basically getting instant one-shot kills. And they just let it go because they're like, oh, we can fix this. And this was like at a time when fixing things took more time. But they were like, yeah, we could roll it back, we could patch it, we could do all this stuff. And it's like, no, we're just going to let it go because it's easier for us and more fun. But this was that, but on a whole different level, because people were building weapons that when you fired them would boot you to orbit because it put too many game entities into the world at once. Like, what? Like, I think Alex told me, because we were talking about it, I think one of the reasons I was busy is because I was hanging out with him doing something. Someone had done something that put Wolfpack rounds into something that fired like a shotgun. So essentially you have 9 shots go out, which then detonate and create like 5 to 6 more each. And so all of that happening very quickly would either crash the game or boot them to orbit. It's just, I love it when shit like that happens and they just go, fuck it. Like when you're on a weekly cadence, you can let it go like that. There wasn't anything like important that people were ruining. Like, yeah, cool, you cleared a raid boss super fast and it was funny at the same time. Like, same thing when people discovered you could do 12-man raids. They just let it happen until they fixed it. You know, it's harming no one.
Our 12-man DSC was hilarious.
Doing six people through
are
Prophecy was pretty fucked too.
Yeah. People are actively making Telestos now that aren't Telesto.
Yeah.
And crashing the game, which is so funny to me. Like non-exotic Telesto.
So funny, like seeing some of the clips of like people just wailing on a strike boss. Not even anything big, but the weird. I think they'd basically built a grenade launcher that was, I don't know what it was firing, but 3 of them firing those at the boss was basically just pushing it up into the sky, but dealing tons of damage at the same time. And they were just like, just launching it straight up into the sky. It's like, what have you even done to make that work?
It's shotgun everything, which is the funniest thing to me. And here's the thing, I'll be doing something, or I was doing something, and I'd forget that it was a thing.
Yeah.
And just fuckery afoot, and me having to look at these like guardians and be like, what the fuck are they? What the like, and then remembering.
Yeah.
Because I'm just like, you've just got like a norm. What is this gun? It's normal.
Yeah.
And then looking, you're like, oh.
Yeah. I think
it's an exotic technically.
Yeah, what I want to do, I think it's been long enough now. I want to see if I can find a good like compilation video of some of these things, because I know at least I think I saw Dado asking for people to send him clips to put together for something like that. So I'm sure there are plenty of videos around of good examples of this. So
I'm sure like Cacus or someone's put something together.
Yeah, you just have to get past 10 minutes of intro.
Bring back the Ali A fucking aggressive dubstep intros.
Yeah, that's what I want. But yeah, like, again, it harms no one. Like, sure, it might trivialize getting some cosmetic armor out of it, like a PvP playlist, but literally, who gives a shit? It's video game cosplay. Just enjoy the broken gun.
It's Blibio games.
Yes, space magic and dress ups. Yeah, I kind of wish I had gone in and tried to build some shit, but at the same time, there's no way I would have come up with anything worse than like a couple of hundred of these shitlords that are just all explicitly doing this for an entire weekend. I don't think I could top them.
Oh my god, I just saw a clip of a fucking Lydia firing like a machine gun.
Good.
Sorry, I went to go grab some examples that we could throw in the description, and just it auto-played in the first clip with someone using a Lydia like a heavy machine gun.
Just...
See, that's funny!
Yeah, I want that.
When gun no do the thing you know gun do and do something else, it funny. Gun act like other gun, funny.
It's just like...
Just let your unga bunga brain just take over for 2 hours and giggle at the silly gun.
Yeah, did you ever play the Just Cause series? So one of the best things is how much they lent into the chaos in their sandbox. You had like a grappling hook that you could tether 2 items together with, and then you could push a button that would basically just retract that cord, and you could strap rockets to things. You could strap these like booster mines that would like be a rocket and then eventually explode, and you could like stand in front of someone's car that's driving down the street, strap a bunch of those rocket bombs on the back of it, send them into space. You could first tie their car to a lamppost before you do that, and then they're just doing tetherball shit. Like, it's so good.
It's like all the Flash game Newground games where they were just basically destruction sandboxes.
Yes.
Like that kind of stuff, like the stick figure ones and the chemical reaction ones that were all just in browser Flash games. Okay. Like that energy.
So I've just now remembered a conversation I had with Alex when we were hanging out, and I've put all the pieces in my head together of what that day was. He had never played Burnout Revenge. the one with like the crash mode and all of that shit, and we got to explain it to him, and I got so excited reliving memories of playing Burnout Revenge and Burnout Paradise and doing crash mode shit, and just like this little husk of a vehicle just bouncing around, just blowing shit up when you hit it.
Yeah.
Oh man, I could play that. I could play that game again right now. I'm gonna see if there's a way to. I know Burnout Paradise
to the emulator.
Well, Burnout Paradise they've re-released a couple of times, and like it was never as good as when everyone I know was playing it on Xbox 360. Like that was a good time on the internet. Or I would jump into a party with people, be like 4 of us just hooning around, doing shit in Burnout Paradise. It was so good. Ah, what a time. Speaking of things being kind of broken, so I mentioned before I had some networking issues. I don't think this was actually related, but Bungie actually came out and said that Destiny had been hit by a bunch of DDoS attacks recently, distributed denial of service, which has led to a big upswing in networking errors from their end. I thought it was interesting because in the same message they said, usually when this happens, we don't tell you. Because the weird thing is when you say that, people try to do more of it because
it's a Streisand, isn't it? Where it's
it's also that's the point is if you're trying to DDoS a service or a company, you're doing it to get their attention, and them coming out and saying we're being DDoSed is literally the point. Yeah. So yeah, it was interesting to me that they chose this one to be like, this one's pretty bad. And I think it's good. It was good for transparency because people were complaining about the networking. And people always say shit like, Destiny service is so bad. It's like, well, yeah, because someone's trying to run it over with a truck. Like, of course.
Yeah, I was getting a few times over the last week or so, I've been getting errors that I'd personally never experienced. Like we're used to like Weasel, Baboon, stuff that's more our end, or connecting to Destiny 2 servers, which is just usually maintenance is happening when that happens, because maintenance happens during American downtime, Australian peak time. Like it is what it is.
Yeah.
And I was starting to see errors on and off that I've never seen or personally experienced before.
Yeah,
and I just
had
never
an error code B appear like in that bottom banner, but then when it like kicked me out and I got the actual like message in the middle of the screen, it was a weasel. So that's where I was saying like I don't think what I had was related, because I was eventually getting an error code weasel, which is usually client side networking.
Yeah. But yeah, and I just never thought like it's oops, load back in. Like it's no big deal. Sometimes when you're in the middle of something important and it does it can be a little bit frustrating, but like, yeah, just load back in.
It's usually
no
fine.
harm, no foul most of the time.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I saw that announcement that I was like, oh,
it's actually bad out here.
That explains some of the stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, so maybe don't be mad at them. Servers are okay. They're just getting beat up.
But also watch Destiny create a whole new legal precedent again if this keeps happening.
Oh, yeah. Fuck yeah. Because, like, it's the thing. Like, these things are often quite hard to track down, but not impossible, depending on how stupid the people behind them are. But it's the weird thing I've found.
As we've learnt in the past, salty Destiny players aren't too intelligent.
The thing I've found in the last, call it month, because I've taken Twitter off, like I haven't uninstalled it or like gotten rid of my account just yet, but I've taken it off the home screen just because I want to like almost wean myself off it, because I'm very much opposed to everything that's happening with it. But it's meant that I've missed a lot of just the like incidental Destiny updates I would get from seeing those tweets of like, oh, we've got this networking issue, or like, here's the thing about the guns and the crafting. A lot of it I was getting only through word of mouth, and even then, there's a couple of like group chats I'm in on Twitter that would like cause me to open the app, and then I would see something on a timeline, and like maybe that happens once a week at this point. But so much of the stuff I just miss because I don't have any other way where I would get that information.
I have the homies, Air, Bungie, and Destiny 2 set to notify me. So I can see the tweet about the notification on my home screen and then close the notification, but I don't have to go into Twitter.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's also one of the things because I haven't been playing a ton of Destiny lately. I haven't felt the need to do something like that. It's probably just a good incentive to go and find something other than Twitter where they post those messages too. I think there are spots. I'm trying not to get to the point where I was with Twitter where I was checking it all the time. And I don't really want to just replace that with a different thing. Like trying to create better digital habits is one thing. Because I kept finding myself like looking at Twitter on my phone, close it, go to the home screen, reopen Twitter, and I caught myself doing that loop more than once a week, and I was like, I need to get rid of this. So this is just not even good in any way.
It's why I sat down and thought about my notifications, and I was like, I'm going to turn notifications off for Twitter except for, and then set it to notify very specific accounts. So only very specific accounts will actually ping my phone. And it's like I said, it's the close homies and then Bungie, Destiny 2.
Yeah.
And then some of the bands I like that I'm waiting to announce to announce tours and stuff.
And it's a thing that I am very soon going to have to figure out all over again because I'm switching from Android to iPhone whenever this fucking iPhone shows up hopefully in the next week. Because this screen, I think I showed you this before our last recording, but I didn't actually put it in the episode. This is just what it does sometimes. You can see the like damaged bit down that side. Maybe eventually it'll actually show me, there's the screen. Okay, it works now. But like in this corner here, there's like some damage where I dropped it, and then it like cracked across the screen. It's bad. It is getting less usable by the day because it will do that thing where it's like just white, and I'll have to like lock it, unlock it about 4 to 5 times before it goes, it also does this. Before it becomes
that's right,
usable.
the retina scan.
Yeah, it will just do this, and now it's gone. So yeah, it is deeply frustrating to use this phone, but I have no alternative until it shows up. But yeah, it's a whole like different system of notifications and apps and shit that I am not familiar with because I've never had an iPhone. I have an iPad, but I barely have anything set up on there. It's mainly a thing I use to play Magic the Gathering Arena and for like tracking life when I'm playing real life Magic the Gathering. I barely use it for anything else at this point, but like I have some Netflix and stuff on there, that sort of thing, but not using it daily. I'm not checking it for stuff. I'm not getting notifications there. So yeah, I have to figure out all of that all over again.
You'll be able to get your good photos from your new iPhone on your iPad and edit them on your iPad.
Maybe. It's an iPad Air 3, so it's a bit old. It's not super capable. But the case for the iPhone showed up because that was very, very fast shipping. So like I now know how big the phone will be, which is like, let me see, like that much bigger than my current phone. That's fun. I can do that comparison.
I always go my case is looking a bit jank. I always go the Pro or the Max size in iPhones.
See, I've gone the Max mainly because of like the weird economics of scaling up storage on an iPhone, because it was like the standard iPhone Pro it's like 128 gig base storage, and I wanted to go up to the 256 because I was like, that feels better compared to what I've got in my current phone. And then the Pro Max starts with 256, and the cost difference is like $100 between the two at that point. I was like, I'm just gonna go up. It's fine. But yeah, that'll hopefully show up next week.
Reminds me, I need to clear my phone out before PAX.
Plenty of space for photos and shenanigans.
I have the cloud, but like I have the largest cloud service option, but I still like to just make sure there's nothing important on my phone on my phone so that if I lose it while I'm traveling or it's stolen.
Yeah, very true.
They can't get into my iCloud. I can lock that and I can lock the phone, but you also don't want to lose anything. So I want to make sure it's all in at least a physical location.
Yeah. Smart. Well, look, we're very much out of Destiny talk now. I think that's about it. It's about all we've got.
Rootin', tootin', dootin'.
Yes. So yeah, we will. I don't know. I'll place. I still need to gild my dredgen. I still haven't finished that. Let me think. What is this? We're recording this on 21st of September. Yeah, we'll get one more of these in. Then the week after that is PAX. I think yeah, we should only need that 1 week off, depending on how things go. But stay tuned. We may just not post one. The next few weeks are going to be weird. But hey, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for tuning in. You get?
I get back on the Wednesday, so
that might be a bit tight. Yeah. Okay. So maybe it's a 2-week break for PAX. But yeah, make the algorithm happy. Inform the algorithm about Erico Blueberry. Inform your friends so that they can inform the algorithm. And you do that by hitting all the buttons under the video, including the big box where you can type in a comment. And then you hit the enter key and you send that, and I get a notification on my phone that says, hey, you got a comment. And then I look at it. And then if it's good, I give it a heart. And if it's really good, I'll say something. Or you might. Yeah. It's not just me. Imbaru. Sound off in the chat. Imbaru's in the chat.
It's my new favorite word since oubliette.
Yes, Imbaru is a little easier to say. Yeah, what that Imbaru do?
Who up? Oobling their it.
Who up? Bamboozling their enemies and feeding their Imbaru engine. Ugh.
Who up? Getting horny off confusion.
Well, I am now.
Savathun is.
Let's get out of here. We'll see you next week. Probably. Right? Yeah.
Unless my house eats more keys.
Yeah, I don't. I didn't even think to ask. We'll talk about that later. We cannot get into a whole thing about house keys now. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Love you, miss you, bye.